down still hard? Oh, okay. Hope it stays lit up. Oh, I know, when you were gone. Really bad.
Okay, are we?
Not yet, wait for a green light.
Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, welcome to our Wednesday morning class. We want to welcome you that are here in person and you that might be joining us live or later on the internet. Well, we just finished a series of our teachings concerning how to look differently at aging, I guess is the way I want to say. That's really what the class was to me. It was looking at different information about what aging is and how we can enter into that process of aging. Does aging have to make us its victim, or can we in some way co-create with this process of how that we transform ourselves? And I really like that word better than any. We use change sometimes, we use transition, but transform means that we come in a different form again. Trans means cross, form. So it means, what it means to me, and I know this is controversial, is I believe there will be a generation, or within a generation, a people, let me put it that way. There will be in a generation, a people among that generation who are absolutely placed to be in that position. In other words, earlier before we came on, we was talking about dharma, our purpose. And I think that the more we understand that, the more that we're going to feel empowered to move toward fulfilling these agreements and contracts and those things that we have come in with that are waiting to be awakened in us. And we can do that in many different ways. But anyway, we now are getting ready to start a new class in the next few weeks. Probably by February 1st, we'll be in a particular new class. But I wanted this month to be a kind of open month to do some things that I think is important enough to go back and look at again so that we don't miss it. And I always get concerned, how much are you bringing with you from these classes? That's the only thing that matters about these classes, what you end up with. Yeah, what you end up consciously with. Use it daily to upgrade your life, to use it in a way in which you can see things in a different, completely perception. These are the things that should be the fruit of these classes, is what does it do to change your life, to empower your life, and to allow you to live a more mindful and a more awakened state, which we call enlightenment. Enlightenment is an awakened state. So what I wanted to review today was some things, and I touched on this some months ago when I was doing some of the fundamental beliefs that we have here at HeartLight at this time, because beliefs do change. And I think you should always realize that your beliefs once in a while need to come under the scrutiny of the light of your higher self. In other words, let it shine its light upon some of your beliefs that you have validated and qualified, and see, do they still resonate with you? If they do not, then you do what? Put them on a shelf and not judge them right or wrong, good or bad, and hold them in a neutral state. Don't ever say, okay, well, I don't believe that anymore. That's terrible. No, I embrace all of the steps that you've taken to get where you are today. Everything has been a stepping stone to get you where you are today. You would not be the same person in front of me or online listening to me if you would have taken out all of the things that have been the challenges of your life. Probably, if the truth is known, you probably grew quicker and faster during those times than when things were kind of going very easy and going smoothly as you would have them. And there are times that kind of happens when, especially when we fall in love and all that kind of rigmarole and euphoria and all of that, you know, the honeymoon syndrome, I call it, which we know is not going to last, but we do have those in life where things just seem to gel, things are right, things feel pretty good for me right now. But trust me, that has no permanence. It's going to change in time, space. That's the way it is. So when I did that, we touched into some of these things about how and what we can do to manifest in our life. I'm taking this from different sources, actually, but one of the main sources that I thought was the best on this subject when I researched it was actually out of the Science of Mind. The Science of Mind book, I thought, gave me much more than even Unity's material gave me. Fillmore always gives me good things because I so connect with Fillmore. We have some kind of a weird connection, I don't know, but I understand his vision that he really never lived to see, but he had a vision. He knew exactly where things were going to go in the 21st century. He understood the quantum level. He understood the power of atoms in the body. He was so far ahead himself in many ways. But in some other ways, I think, wow, we're getting some thunder here, so there's sound in the heavens.
Feel the vibration.
Yeah, I guess we needed that. Thank you, universe. So anyway, I want to go through some of these, what I feel is empowerment in ways in which we can realize the power of the mind. Now, to do this talk, I'm not going to sit and try to, every time I say mind, try to explain what I mean. I think most of you that's been in my classes, some of you for years, have been in my classes, understand that I'm very clear about the difference between mind and brain. Now, I do believe the brain has a mind in it, a little heart mind. And they found that. And what it ended up being was about 40% of the neurons that's in the heart they found in the brain. So they found the heart of the brain. Think about it. Well, also, there's a little brain in the heart. And those are the two that's missing, that's not been connected, because we either think it's all mind or all spirit or soul or whatever, and it's divided. We divide it. And I've taught you the wonderful metaphors that, boy, I don't want to get into that. I love exposing this. And I do this for the women. I've always wanted to do everything I could do to free women of religious slavery. And it almost boils down to that, of some of you that have not been in some very, very strict places where women, I was in one place where every year every woman had to stand up and have the space between her skirt and the floor had to be so many inches, could not be any higher than that, or they were, treated terribly and judged and all that kind of thing. So anything I can do, and one of the things that is of concern and still remains, slowly evolving and changing, but it hasn't quite reached there, and that's equality between the man and the woman. So women are still dealing with that. They're still dealing with equal pay for equal time and so on and so forth. It's not been attained, although it probably would be if certain things would happen politically. And that's all I'll say about that. But anyway, let's just dive into this and see. So the mind and the brain, to me, are two different things. The brain is a specific organ in the head, right? It's about 3 pounds or so, gray matter. And it's a magnificent machine. And it's exactly that. It's a machine. Yeah. The brain is from our evolution. Our soul is from our creation. There's a difference in what evolution has given you, because evolution works from the bottom up. We go from all these different Homo erectus and all these names, fancy names of different stages of human evolution, and finally man is supposed to emerge as this two-legged animal shows up on the earth. And then where evolution, to me, sort of hung itself was when it evolved the frontal cortex to the human brain, which separated him so much from other animals and nature. This is where separation actually starts, is in the frontal part of the brain. And we're the only animal that has that. And it's been a blessing, it's been a curse. It can be a blessing because we are more in control of our life and destiny, because we can think differently, whereas many forms of other animals, I think instinctively. It's passed down from generation to generation, because you just watch, it's just amazing to watch these shows. I love these nature shows, and the mother with the baby, especially the bear, was really fascinating. But to watch that whole thing of how most of it is intuitive. They don't learn verbally or whatever. Now maybe they have grunts and sounds, but it's just wired within them. And I think what truly mankind was wired for has been disconnected, and we've lost the wiring of our purpose of being here and rewired us from culture, religion, and Newtonian science, and so on and so forth. So that's why we need religion. Did I say that? I bet you're what? I never would have heard him say that. Let me explain. Again. Restore, again. Religion, or ligiere, or religio, is the word for religion in Latin, which was taken, and it means to bind. Now stay with me. So, why we need a new religion is we need a new way to reconstruct and to join ourselves to something bigger than ourselves. And I want you to feel my language. Bind, join. I can see it on your face. Bind. I don't get a real negative thing about being bound to anything. And see, religion has bound millions and billions of people to their dogmas and doctrines. And it's so strongly that even when they know it's not true anymore, they stay in it because it is so strongly in the genetic story and in the karmic story of the person that they'll choose to stay in something they don't believe because it is culturally correct. That's where their identity is. Their identity has been American Irish, or American African, or American Native, or American this, and American that, and whatever person. We just get into all these identities. And then we plug into that identity, and there's no juice in the plug because we're not plugged to what we came for. Once you get the right plug over here that works, these may not work at all, and I can plug the same light up and get nothing because my source is not free. There's a block. But if I find this one is still working, and the male and females working together, the yin and the yangs working together, all the polarities are working together for the higher good, I manifest and the light bulb comes on. The light bulb didn't come on by itself. It is the resort. It is the result of energy, spirit, chi, whatever, running through the circulation system of our energy bodies. That's why energy work is so important to get done and to do. So, I said all that. To say the mind, to me, is more a word in which I use as more spirit or heart or soul. Now, in the Greek, if you look this up in Strong's, you can see either one of those words will fit. The soul, the spirit, the breath, and now we use energy. That's kind of the new upgrade of language is now. We just say everything is energy. And we start so much compartmentalizing. And we have to do that like when we teach classes and things like that, we have to put it into pieces hoping that it will find itself to become a wholeness or experience within those who go for this kind of training is very important. So I do not want to undermine the brain in its wonderful abilities that it has. It just seems like everything else in the 3D physical, biological world, it wears out way too fast. That's my greatest, if there's a complaint, I don't like that word, but that would be my concern, is why does everything have to be used up so fast? Whether it's your liver, whether it's your heart, and of course the medical profession is there to let you know this is the norm of who you are and who you're going to be. And I've been told that right in this city. That, why am I worried about it at your age? You're not going to live forever. The doctor told me that. I wouldn't worry about that. Go ahead and take that medicine. It's not going to bother you, the side effects. Death will get you first before the side effects.
The doctor said that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, anyway, one thing was a great breakthrough during that time of teaching that I think helped me and a lot of people. I think we've all sort of not known what to do with certain words and titles such as Lord, Lord. I can feel sometimes that's not a comfortable word to people who are at this level of understanding and consciousness. And you can tell that. There are just certain words that people aren't in phase with because they've outgrown it in some way. And that's a hard act to balance here, is to try to make sure everybody gets their level of understanding. So Spirit will throw in sometimes out of my mouth the word Lord or God or something like that, even though I feel somewhat beyond those terms, but I realize I have to use terms that the people have to at the same time, or I would completely lose them if I don't bring them back to a language that they've learned, right? So anyway, we're going to just talk about the power of the mind, however that is seen with you. The Bible, as a fundamentalist Christian who believes the Bible actually warns you against using imagination. It's just one of those things. And the things in the Bible that kind of like has been put under wrong, the right and the wrong list, I've looked at the most. Now that's how rebellious I was and how divinely, spiritually dyslexic I was. I always wanted to go back the other way with everything. And that's worked out for me spiritually because I think everything is backwards in the outer material world. Like everything you're looking right now, you're looking into a mirror. You're not really probably seeing it. Oh boy, this is going to be heavy. I doubt if you're really seeing a chair which is one of the first things in A Course in Miracles that you have to, I remember that. This chair is not here, it does not exist. And that's when people start shutting the book and leaving. And like, you're kidding me. But there's a reason for that. I won't go into that teaching, but there is a true teaching as to why it is not that. But it appears to be a chair to me because of the way the materials have been put together. And I've been learned when I see something like that, there's a function. Usually you sit in it. So I have all that in the memory. So I can connect to that. Now, if you bring some strange object in here that I've never experienced, I have no idea what to even call it, then I'm just totally shut down because I have nothing over here in the memory to connect it to. And that's why always trying to gather information and research is a very healthy thing. It can be an unhealthy thing too, like everything else. In this 3D world, it's got, two sides to every coin. You can overdo the best of things. You can overdo, well, I won't start listing things, but things that you think are very good, if you did it all the time and hours and hours and hours, you would neglect a lot of your life. You would not have a whole life if you felt like you needed to meditate 10 hours a day or something like that, That doesn't make sense to me, that would even be necessary. Okay. So, what helped me about the Lord thing was teaching about spiritual law. And I thought, and this is a personal thing, I have no proof. But my spirit said to me, the Lord is law, divine, spiritual, universal law. And that made sense to me when it says he's the Lord of lords. What in the heck does that mean? Oh, I have a revelation on it, I'm sure I'll give you. But no, what does that mean? He's the Lord of lords and the King of kings. And here it is. Let me give you just an idea here. For the law of the Spirit of life, law, has made me free from the law of sin and death. Law and law. When this becomes the law of this will change everything down here in the laws of man. When spiritual law is established in man-made law, and this is the Lord of Lords. In other words, the spiritual law is guiding and leading this law. I've never, I used to talk about this. I haven't thought this in a long time, but I thought one thing I don't like about man-made law is everybody is judged by a certain textbook idea of what the law is. And I used to give this simple, that can't get any simpler than this, illustration, that a man who has a family, and this is probably going on right now while I'm talking many times, and no food, no money, no job, living in a horrible, horrible environment and position in which he becomes desperate, goes down and takes an apple or so from the market that's out in front and is caught. All right? Another man, a man who is lazy, greedy, thinks the world owes everything to him, could have a job, do well, but he comes by the market and he takes the same thing and he gets caught. Now you got two people caught doing the same thing. The question is, should they both get the same punishment? I say no. I say the man who took that because he was desperate to feed his family and did not do it for greed or purpose should be totally treated differently by the law and shown more grace. Are you understanding? Yes. Law and grace. Now, grace doesn't erase what he did. He's still karmically going to pay for what he did. But what grace did took the judgment away and was no longer judged right or wrong, good or bad, but was seen only in the context of the motive of the law. And you know as well as I do, there are millions of people, especially in American jails, that do not belong in them.
Right. True. Especially the ones that smoke marijuana.
Absolutely, it is. It's sad when you think how differently people are treated based upon a lot of things, that they end up in a position by the law.
Man-made. How about the law that they just passed getting rid of Roe v. Wade, when most women, 70% of them, believe that women should have a choice? As a matter of fact, in the Jewish religion, you're not a child until you breathe, and the mother is the most important, and there's a problem, you save the mother, not the child. Now, how does that add up to a nation that's supposed to be multi-religious, multicultural, to have one rule for abortion?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your passion to remind us of these things, right? Let's get back to.
Well, you're talking about laws.
I understand. There's a lot there to be looked at in there. So let me start out with a quote. This quote is by David Bohm, B-O-H-M, Bohm. Now, who's David Bohm? Anybody know? He was a protege of Einstein, so he was definitely a part of that whole process of what was going on at that time as the relativity and all that was coming in and all of that. So he does, but his teachings had a more spiritual slant. I think Bohm and Carl Jung all had a psychological and slant to them, which I like. But he said in the implicate order. Now, when he says implicate order, he means in the inner implicate order. As in the brain itself, imagination and reality are ultimately indistinguishable. I'm going to read that again. In the implicate order, as in the brain itself, imagination and reality therefore come as to be ultimately indistinguishable. What does that mean? It means that the thing that you visualize and think and give feeling to, the brain sees it as done. All I'm doing is giving us some reasons why we believe what we do and what we do here in this way. Yes, I'll call you Rhoda. Why don't I call you Rhoda?
I'll answer.
Okay.
No problem. So in that quote, which I've seen before, I'm interpreting that as if he was speaking the language in the way we do, mind versus brain, that would actually be in the mind rather than in the brain. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And that's why I said I can't every one of these,
Right.
but you should know when it's brain, a lot of times it is mind. You just have to be able to discern which is kind of it. And that's the way the language was put up, as kind of ways to hide differences that are very important in language. We speak very general in our language. And sometimes we say things and we think things and we say things and we're going, what does that mean? Because we lost something in the process of how it shows up to the point to be communicated in that way. Therefore, it comes to no surprise to us that images in the mind ultimately manifest as realities in the physical body. My goodness, what a tremendously powerful paragraph. I'm going to do it again. I don't care if we don't get anything but this. In the implicate order, what's in the brain is the mind. So in the implicate order would actually be the part of the mind or heart or soul that's in the brain. Which, by the way, to me is accessed through the activation of the axis between the pituitary and the pineal gland. We can talk about that sometime. The mind itself, imagination, and reality are ultimately indistinguishable. So we're not just whistling Dixie here on Sundays and whatever when we get up and start declaring people's wholeness and whatever. I know there's got to be a certain level of resistance to saying things that are so contrary to the world of appearance, and the world of appearance is what is so materialized. I mean, what is most materialized is what you really have to deal with that seems real to you. And that's why we have to learn how to live in what I'm going to call a kingdom of heaven consciousness. That's heaven. Paul says to be heavenly minded is life. To be carnally minded is death. Isn't that good? To be spiritually minded is life, but to be carnally minded is death. Remember I shared you where we get the word carnal, mind, carnal? From the Italian word carne, or carnage, which means meaty or fleshy. So, to be cute, to be carnally minded is to be a meathead. Well, there's a lot to that if you think about it. So anyway, evolution has given us certain things for certain reasons. In other words, when something comes up that could take out the species, then evolution comes up with something. It evolves something that's meant for that time, that stage to get through it. The trouble is, if we don't evolve from it when it's done what it's supposed to do and we keep holding on to it, then we pull ourselves back into the slow story of evolution. And here comes 2,000 years ago, the Christ consciousness shows up in 3D. Isn't that great? That's a great way to put it. Christ consciousness, the mind of the divine shows up in the human story. And that part of the story that it went into is not your ancestral individual story, but it is your planetary story of why you're on this planet at this time. So, no wonder religion did not want to let people know about the power of imagination. They took out everything that empowered the people. That's why we have the solfeggio frequencies today, because they took it out, because they were so powerful in the Gregorian chants that they begin to see manifestations of empowerment coming from the people and not the church. The church. So any sounds that empowered people, any sounds that healed, any sounds that in any way would allow a person to grow a little bit was taken out to keep people within the boundaries of the religion through creeds and doctrines and catechisms and so on and so forth. And they like to get you early. Earlier, the better, because they understand this whole 5 to 7 year thing. They understand it and they've used it for their good. So that's all I'm trying to tell you, is there are things that were very good in evolution that is no longer needful or that we need them anymore. And this is the cool thing that I think happened maybe 2,000 years ago, because a lot of things was going on as it does every 1,000, 2,000, 13,000. I mean, there's so many cycles of things that goes on, and planets go through each other, and moons do this, and the sun does this. I mean, it's always something. I'm constantly getting something on. Oh, it's so-and-so day today at 4 o'clock we're going to do. Yeah, and that's all right. There's nothing wrong with people bringing their minds and consciousness together, but I don't think you're going to manipulate anything to get done that's not ready to get done. What you need to do is just stay open and say, universe, I'm your availability, manifest through me as you choose. For my choice is your choice. My will is your will. That's all we have to do. I think that's the simplest, most powerful thing we can do, is how to open ourselves up to be the vessel in which God, the divine, pours its treasure from. That's what the scripture says. You are his vessel in which he pours forth his treasure. And his treasure is who he created you to be. Because when he looks into what he created, he beholds its own face. It's the only face it has is in its creation. Wow. Everything existing in the physical plane is the materialization of a thought which must be balanced by the individual who issued the thought. See? Everything has to be done with your power. And this is why I don't know, sometimes I do, but I don't do it all. Then I go look up something, like these books that shows every emotion that's connected to an organ and all that. Trust me, I'm not putting down that stuff. I think they're great tools to use, but I think sometimes if we just keep this constantly going outside of ourselves and make everything outside of ourselves the source of everything that we're going to choose, and neglect what has already been willed and chosen in you. This is why I totally don't throw out things like predestination. I don't care for it as a dogma or doctrine, but I think it's a wonderful thread to understand that if you help to co-architect your dharma for this lifetime, that means that you have signed, so to speak, these contracts. And what that means is they're going to go off in spite of you, and it's going to feel like, oh my God, I didn't ask for this, I'm a victim. No, the only thing you're a victim to is to your own choices that you made before you got here. And that's called also sovereignty. Now, the universe says, I can sovereignly bring this into your life because you did not get where you said you would need to be with free will. Oh my goodness, here I go. This is a free will planet. It's a free will planet. And there's such a spiritual purpose for that as to why a portion of creation ended up on this planet. Because those who ended up on this planet who still knew who they were in the beginning, they knew who they were in the beginning. They knew where they came from. They knew that they were representative, magistrates, gods, little g-d-o-s, Elohims, representing the true creator at a planetary level. And those who understood and knew that they came for a different reason and purpose. But that did not happen at that time. And it didn't happen because of free will. So here's the way I explain it. I think sometimes we have taken for granted this idea of God, capital G-O-D, God. I think we've seen this God as way more efficient than it is. Now, I want you to try to get where I'm coming from. It would seem to me, in my experience, of that part of me that has been created by a creator, that I want to understand the purpose of the creator, which gave itself in me. So the way I can understand the creator is to understand that which is within me. That's exactly what Jesus did. That I only know who the Father is by that was in me. It seems, oh gosh, okay. All right, I got to go back to experience. 1978, pastoring a little church in Little Rock, Arkansas. Things are really bad. There's some gossip about me or something. I don't know what it was. Anyway, they really treated me pretty bad at that time. It was a rough time, is what I'm saying. But there had been a ministerial convention scheduled where ministers of this message I was in would come in from all over the country, and they would have several days of different speakers and whatever. And I was just kind of being not the best mood. But anyway, I went because I was still the pastor. And so I went and I sat in the back and I was listening to all this, and it was just not making a bit of sense to me. It was like, what are these people saying? It's just like I lost total contact with the language and whatever. And for some reason, at that moment, I decided, well, I can't get up and leave, so what am I going to do? And something said in me, play a game. I thought, a game? Anyway, make a long story short, it ended up saying, play me. Be me. And I thought, cool, what would it be like to be God? This is all going on, this craziness all around me, and I'm just kind of in my own little dimension and world. It was kind of fun. I mean, I was just really enjoying, like, where's this going exactly? I wasn't sure. And I thought, because it's real interesting when you really focus in on God as a definition or whatever, it's hard. I mean, you can give some adjectives about him that you believe, but who he is not what's about him, it's what he is, or she is, or it is. It's what it is. Let me give you an illustration. I'm so glad it doesn't say, for God has unconditional love for you. No, I like it better, that God is love. That feel better? God is, we say here. That's really the I am name. That's your new name, is I am. That's written in the heavens. Okay. Are you with me so far? All right. So I really got into this, and I thought, okay, love, I'll take that one. That's the one I know. And I thought, I am the total, and I just found myself saying this, I am the totality of all that love. There is nothing that makes me what I am, for I am the fullness of that which I am, or something like that. And I thought, and I just got into this idea of being total 100% pure love. Oh my God, and it was like feeling really good, and you know, I was just experiencing it as I humanly could, but it seemed like love just expanded from love for mother and love for this and love for that. It just was love, an expression of itself, not becoming anything. Are you with me? It was just the totality of love, just sitting there. And it could, if it had a voice, it'd say, "Oh, I'm all love. I'm the omnipresent love. There is nothing other than me but love." And then somewhere in that moment of the game, my mood changed, and it wasn't so jubilant as it had been. It was serious. And all of a sudden, that which I was, love, felt a desire come out of itself. What good is it to be the totality of love and have nothing to love? For it's in what I love that I will know the love that I am. And I went, oh my God, what's going on here? And I swear, I don't say this often, but I swear to you at some point, the imagination of the game connected me to cellular memory, and I was remembering this actually as it took place in the origin of creation. And I know I wanted to share that with you today, but yeah, it's an amazing thing to experience the mind being awake in your brain. And that's when you'll wonder where these thoughts came from. They will not be in your memory bank. They will be the ignited, powerful, present logos, photon data. We're being released in the neurons of your brain in the form of remembrance, epiphanies, and etc. And the more that happens, the more the illusion you've lived in of what life is begins to dissipate and fade away as a new picture begins to emerge. And it is you being reborn on a different dimension. You were there all along, but you had not been born again here to that level. And you, who thought you were you, will meet you, who you've always been you. Everything existing in the physical plane is a materialization of a thought which must be balanced by the individual who issued it. In other words, you must know your power and take responsibility for all thoughts and ideas that come through your mind and not somebody else's. It has to have your, what's the two things? You have to have your I am code. What is that? What is your I am code? It said you got to have your I am code is made of vibration, sound, electromagnetic fields. When all of those start mixing together, they create patterns. Calligraphy is something I'm going to start moving into and doing. Some of you who once in a while, not often, but sometimes I come off the platform, I go down, and I do a little work with people. Do you understand what I'm doing?
Yes.
I am creating shapes for energy, which is universal, to come in and form itself according to the intention that I've set for it. Reiki symbols is calligraphy. Same thing. It is the different shapes. And I really feel that we're getting ready to, and I hope Sandra is able to follow through, because I know she wants to, on the kind of beginner's class of sacred geometry. I think this is going to help you to really understand the most stable language in the universe is mathematics. Not maybe old mathematics, but sacred mathematics. So much. I want to get into the golden mean so bad with you guys. Oh my God, we could tune our lifestyle to the golden mean ratio. Everything from how much wine you drink in a glass, to how many ways you breathe, everything. If you could learn how to do it with the Fibonacci scale of the golden mean, you would live such an aligned life, nothing could harm you. Nothing. There's not a virus, there's not a thing that could harm you if you were at one. Meant, Father, make them one even as we are one. He wasn't talking to some God out there somewhere. He was talking about his own spirit, which was now fathering everything in him instead of his brain. For my Father seeks you to worship in spirit and truth. Everything exists on the physical plane is materialized through thought, which must be balanced and issued by the thought of the person that is thinking it. Now, to do that, what do you have to do? This is where the art of things come in. When I say the art of something, I mean something you got to practice. It's not a one-time deal. Write it down, 1, 2, 3, this is what I do. You have to practice it until it takes shape. Because most things that we do that we haven't done, we'll do it, and we want to believe it, but we're not sure yet. So you have to get, and practice will give you confidence, and you'll go, okay, I'm building a rapport with this experience to the point then that I can fully give myself to this thought. So the word I'm looking for is mindfulness or observer. Learn. I know we are bombarded with such distractions all the time. I mean, all the time. At least in my house, all the time. There's anybody that's not asleep. It goes on. It's just constant. And I'm not trying to over-complain about it. It's just the world I live in.
It's habitual.
And the business that I run is a computer business, so there's just things that have to be done to run things that sometimes it takes one person to do 5 or 6 people. But anyway, you have to try to catch yourself. The second thing that you want to do is if you've got a buddy, I call them check buddies. These are people in your life that are really more than a friend. I'd say they're more of a star buddy. I mean, there's just that something that's there that you've created with them in other lives. It's a pattern that you share. I've always used the example of back when I was a kid, we went steady. Remember that, going steady? And you had this necklace, and the heart came out, and you wore one half, and they wore the other half, but they fit together. I love that idea, that some people have patterns that so fit with other patterns that they can almost finish each other's words. And it doesn't have to be a physical, sexual relationship whatsoever. It doesn't have to be just a man. It doesn't have to be just a woman. It can be in any form that it chooses to come into. But if we stay in the old sacral 3D thing, we start thinking we're attracted in ways that we don't have to be attracted, I guess is what I'm saying. In other words, we're moving on up. Yeah, we're moving up the sacral, we're moving up here, we're moving from the drive of procreation to the passion of co-creation. Makes sense? See, this is what's driven sexuality, is we got to pass down our genes. We got to, I mean, it's still in the animal world so terribly strong. I mean, my God, what they go through to pass on their, and then they're done. It's like, this is my whole purpose, was just to pass on my DNA to somebody like that. So anyway, we need to learn, if you have a friend that is that way, and that person has to be someone that you trust. You trust them so much that they can tell you the truth. And they may need to be sharp enough to realize that sharing the truth is without any form of judgment whatsoever. It is a mirroring back to them. This is what I heard you say, is that really what you want to say? Was that really what you want to say? And that person may go, well, that's not exactly what I really meant. So right there, you can change it. And when you change that, you change the pattern. You change the pattern, you change cellular replication, and so on and so forth. There's a chain reaction on how all of these things kind of work. Well, I didn't get as far as I want, but we're going to continue this maybe this month. We'll see how far it goes, but we're going to talk about this mechanism of how, from a higher self, can we use our mind, brain, heart, and gut. You've got to bring in the gut. The gut is another brain part of us, and it's very intelligent, and we need to listen to our gut feelings. I knew in my gut not to get into that. I knew it. And a lot of people will feel it in the gut area. So you've got these levels of communications that go on. And when they're all connected to each other, then it's very powerful, and you get clarity real fast. I mean, it's like no guess. This is so clear to me, this decision or whatever it is that we do that. All right, let's take a little moment. We got a few minutes, and let's zero in on spirit. Close your eyes, take a breath, and feel these words. There is nothing but God and God's manifestation. And man is the full and complete expression of divine mind. I am God's idea of itself, realized. Therefore, I am the realization and individualization of the one true intelligence of all universes. And through me all the divine ideas reveal themselves in and to my world that I live in, beginning right now. Spiritual ideas that I hold in the higher atmosphere of my mind are released in this moment through my willingness to receive the manifestation, the inheritance, and the birthright of who and what I was created to be. For what is mankind that God be so mindful? The answer is itself. Love, loving. Not enough to be loved, but it needed something outside of itself to love. But you can't love that which is not equal to you. Therefore, it had to be equal to itself, as Source pulls out its own individualization and image of itself. Like it took a picture of itself, a selfie. Yeah, I like that. God took a selfie of itself and said, there I am, that's me. And when he said that, you were. When God said, this is me, this is I am, you were. In that moment, born as divine idea in the mind of your Creator. And it's time for divine ideas to reveal themselves in my world. Wherever the divine is, there heaven is. And so I am in heaven. At every instant, for I am always in divine presence. And the consciousness of the infinite mind. And as we close this, before we do, I want you to just invite Spirit, Universe, whatever you choose to call it, to meet you at the level in which you are ready to meet it. And allow it to form itself in your mind's eye. First, you may just see like a spiritual cloud, thin haze. And allow that to take on substance, become heavier. As it does, it begins to take on a form, whatever the form is that is in your mind. You don't have to analyze nor understand this at all. Colors, form, shape, and maybe even a sound if you dare. And now add a feeling. How does this make you feel to observe what you have made in your own mind? This is your creation. You fathered it. You mothered it. Whatever this form is or how abstract it is, know that it holds many, many messages. And some of those messages are ready to be made consciousness in the form of your enlightenment. Well, I hate to bring us out of this. It's wonderful, I know. Just know that you can take this with you. Whatever you're feeling right now, just make it a little room in your mind that you can go visit. It's your meditation room. It is the secret place of the Most High in you. It is the chamber of divine jewels and light. All right, when you can. You might wiggle your toes or your fingers or something. Now don't leave it there. Bring it home with you. Take it with you. Take it in your car. Take it in your house. Wherever you go today, take this wonderful presence and peace. All right. Thank you so much. Next Wednesday is your talk, and I hope that you will support that. I cannot be here next week, so Michael is going to do some really good teaching with you. It sounds really interesting, and he's also going to do his. Is that what you're doing? You're doing the food thing.
Yeah, I'll do the lecture on Wednesday, and then Elaine has her Gut Health Matters after class that day.
Yes.
So we'll just do that.
Okay.
next week.
All right. I got you. So I know she has some good information. I don't think it's just about a product, but I think it's about what the product stands for. That's important to why do we need certain things in our life that we're not getting in this depleted world that we live in. And you do have to take responsibility to make sure you make up for some of these lacks that we are getting in the food chain and all that kind of thing. We'll do that. So anyway, I guess we took our little offering up. Thank you so much. And hope to see you Sunday.
Like you say, Elaine's thing is going to be when?
Next Wednesday at noon.
Oh.
Right after this class, right
Yeah,
now.
'cause I want to see that, yeah.
Absolutely. Do you, do some other people know about it that might?
I am gonna send out
Yeah,
invitations to
good.
others.
Okay, good, good, that'd be
And
great.
you're more than welcome to have people, join in if there's something that resonates with, with the message.
Yeah,
Gut health is so important.
It is really important, and most people don't know about
I
it.
know.
And it can be easy if,
Again.
if you know what to do, right?
man. Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. This was really good.
No, it's been